Welcome to video number 4. Well, actually a total of 5. The first video on this channel, numbered 0. That's the foundation video. That's the beginning. Video number 1, or the second, is the material I wish to cover. Today, number 4, communication. How do alien extraterrestrials or visitors to Earth communicate with each other and with us? Well, how they communicate with one another is an indicative of how they are going to communicate with us. Do we as humans on Earth really care how they communicate with each other when none of us are part of those conversations, when none of us are participating? Not really, but we should care, because insight and knowledge of how it is done between visitors from other planets to Earth strongly indicates how they do it with us. In a nutshell, the communication is telepathic. Humans do this also, and many of us with a certain ability or a well-developed ability to communicate telepathically are called mediums or channels or psychics, or maybe there's some other terms. Every human being has the ability to communicate telepathically, and every human being does it. Prayer is probably the most popular label or name for it. Take an example. I speak from my own experience at Roman Catholic Mass. Part of the ceremony, part of the ritual, is to receive communion. This involves receiving a symbolic piece of host, which is basically unleavened or flat bread, a small disc. Can be anything really, but that's what it typically is, which represents the unleavened bread of the time of Jesus in Nazareth, or some other part of what's now Israel when he was alive. Anyway, and then possibly a sip of wine, and the wine is symbolic of the body of Christ, the blood of Christ, etc. And the parishioners who receive communion will often wait in line, receive communion from whoever is providing these, and then they return to their seat or their pew in the church. While other people are still online, it takes a little while for everyone to take their turn. It is very common to see people return to their pew and kneel, cross their hands on the back of the bench or the pew in front of them, and pray. Some of them lower their head, some of them close their eyes. This probably happens 1 billion times a week just amongst followers of Christian or the Catholic faith, or other Christian faiths that also celebrate communion. I'm no expert on this. These billion people that are offering their prayers, where are the prayers going? To whom or to what are these prayers directed? To God, to their angels, to someplace else? Each person can answer for themselves what their belief and practice is. But this is telepathic communication. Every human can and does telepathically communicate by sending their thoughts. Who is the primary recipient of your thoughts? Your guardian angel guides. Every human has them. But these thoughts emanate from the soul of every human being, and they go everywhere. Where do they go? To other people, to animals. Look at how animals will pick up on someone's intention. How do cats and dogs instinctively, all sorts of animals, particularly undomesticated, how do they understand the intentions of many people? On sight, obviously, and many of them will react to something that they don't see. But look at, for example, domesticated dogs as pets. How many of them are very comfortable around their family, their master? How many of them socialize with other dogs, are very used to seeing people, and are generally very calm and pleasant, and suddenly they come upon a person who, for no obvious reason, bothers the dog, and the dog growls. Well, that's telepathic communication. And this is how visitors to Earth communicate with each other. Now, we can communicate with them, but this requires that we believe the information gets there, that we send the telepathic letter and it gets delivered. Well, each individual person has to come upon that belief themselves. No one can force anyone to believe anything. If this sounds strange, if you have not heard this concept before, well, you've heard it now, and that's why you're here. You do have the ability to telepathically communicate if you have the ability to think. And the very fact that you're here watching this video demonstrates that. You are telepathic. You just don't know it, or you don't know it that well. Maybe you do. How can you clearly distinguish and understand incoming telepathic information? Slowly. Step one, again, is to believe that it arrives and that you can request it and it will be delivered to you. Step one is to listen to your thoughts. This is what alien extraterrestrials do. Now, why am I going over all of this as far as visitors to Earth and communication with humans? Well, because when the first alien extraterrestrials in the modern era, and when I say the modern era, I'm referring specifically to the 20th century and the 21st century, the period of time across mankind where we invented and developed aerial flight and nuclear energy. In the 19th century and earlier, we didn't really have it until we go all the way back to Atlantis, and no one believes that anyway. That's another subject. But through the modern era of the 19th century, the 20th century and the 21st century, not the 19th, alien extraterrestrial visitors to the planet Earth came and communicated with humans. How? They're very high technology. We have since developed a lot of these computer technologies ourselves. For example, it is very common now, virtually every smartphone manufactured, certainly the Apple versions, I know that for a fact, have a voice dictation transcription feature. So a person who wants to send an email message or a text message, for example, simply has to click on a microphone to engage that feature on the device and begin speaking into the microphone. And it will pick up on the sounds and transcribe those sounds into writing. Many of us have also seen the very quick and very accurate written translation functions. For example, Google offers one on their website, and there are quite a set of languages, and anyone can enter virtually any amount of text up to a certain volume, and it acts as a grammar check, translator, dictionary, and it will provide one or many very accurate translations in my estimation. I've tried it out a few times between the languages that I know well to test it, and it's generally very good. I would not suggest in many cases much improvement upon the translations. This is human technology that we have developed now in the 21st century that was not popularly available in the 20th. Well, alien extraterrestrials have always had this. They first came to Earth. They listen to our speech. They pick up our radio and television broadcasts, electromagnetic signals, anything that we put in the air, films, anything that we produce that we can see, watch, or read, so can they. And from there, it was easy for them to assemble a translation database. The difference is they have the ability, or had, and they still use it, to convert their thought energy into written language, and then they use something which we have also developed on Earth recently and made generally available, voice transcription. In other words, a computer application which turns written language into spoken words. Sometimes those are very interesting. I remember having a lot of fun with that with New Zealand many years ago, using a GPS, and the very clipped British accent programmed into the computer wanted to continuously pronounce the name of a street as Fendalton. But to my eye, looking at the map, I thought the pronunciation was Fendleton. So I started a little quick personal survey amongst a Kiwi, an Aussie, a Brit, a Scotsman, an Irishman, and myself, all foreigners that had been some locals, but many people that had traveled to New Zealand for the project we were working on. And virtually every English speaker I ran into said the same thing I wanted to say. No, that's pronounced Fendleton. but the computer program wanted to say Fendalton. If anyone has run into this with the voice activation or the voice function of a GPS navigation system, they're using the technology I'm talking about. That of the aliens is very, very refined. That's how they were able to convert their thought energy to written text, to computer spoken language, to communicate with humans. Back in the other direction was very interesting, because humans did not understand that their thoughts could be read. So humans would speak, and then the visitors to Earth would hear the speech with their ears and use their technology to convert that speech into written language. Their written language is numerical, but they can do it between our word or alphabet-based or character-based languages into numerics just as easily as we can in the other direction. So they would understand exactly what they were being told with human words, but then they were able to, in a parallel way, pick up on humans thinking something different, in many cases completely contradictory. In other words, lying. This didn't last too long before the humans, generally high government officials, all the way to the highest level, discovered that their thoughts could be read and that it was absolutely impossible to mislead or deceive the visitors to Earth. So they stopped attempting to do it, and this is what has caused a lot of the cover-up and the concealment that has occurred over these many years regarding alien extraterrestrials. Simply by being honest with us with their abilities, they have made the people at the top feel weak and powerless by their ability to communicate. But in a nutshell, this is how it's done. Thanks very much. On to the next video. If you liked what you heard, please hit like, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below if you'd like. Also, all of these three things will expand the channel and expand the information. More people who need to see it will be able to. Until next time, bye-bye.